Many thanks, first of all, to our organist for today, Mrs. Schuit, who is sitting all the way up there, and she will also accompany us when the cortege and our distinguished guests will leave this church again. So a big applause already for her. On behalf of the Executive Board, President Martin Pol and Vice President Nick Bos and myself, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. In particular, Professor Karsten de Dreux, who is our keynote speaker today, the Governor of the Province of Limburg, Theo Bovens, our Mayor of Maastricht, Annemarie Pente-Strake, our two honored guests, Professor José María Peiro and Professor Catherine Shaw, Professor Karel Stolker, the President and Rector of Leiden University, the President of the Free University of Amsterdam, the Vice Chancellor of York and the Provost of York, and I see many more. I see the President of Zuid University and the President of the Open University. Thank you very much for coming here to attend today's ceremony. And a warm welcome as well to the members of our Supervisory Board, students, alumni, and of course, members of our staff. A heartfelt welcome to this academic ceremony in which we celebrate our 44th birthday. So happy birthday to all of us. And Karsten, once you stand here, you will get the feeling how this is from up here. Prepare a little bit. You have 5 minutes for that. Just like every autumn, last year we once again gathered together in a small group to come up with the theme for next Dies Natalis. Now, in addition to a topic, which this year is academic leadership, a catchy punchline is also needed to put on the invitation that we all send to you. Something like "Just Do It" from Nike. Something inspiring, something catchy that would make you all want to fill up this hall on this last Friday afternoon of January. Now, I really did my best to contribute during this brainstorm session, and I came up with a great suggestion, a real statement about which I could immediately imagine the conversations around the coffee machine. Have you heard about the new DS theme? What do you think of it? Unfortunately, it did not get the approval of the group. For those of you who think the rector has anything to say, think again. I was told by my team members, that's really going to ruffle some feathers, Rianne. We don't think this will be taken well by the academic community, sitting here to my left. I will leave you a little bit in suspense. Anyone who is involved in the university world for a while can witness maybe a number of strange ways of doing things, to say maybe the least, especially for those who have also experienced other ways of working outside academia. For example, for those who want to build a career, the most important thing is to have a good age index, at least for several academic disciplines. The lawyers might think, what is it? We don't know it, huh? But many of the other disciplines do. Excelling in research is priority number one if you want to climb the academic ladder. But of course, for the younger one sitting on my right, you also have to acquire a lot of grants, be good in teaching, provide inspiring leadership, sparkle in media appearances, and many more. Now, the latter aspects are, however, less evaluated when determining career steps. There's also a belief that accepting a position as dean, they're sitting here on the second row, our 6 deans, or Rector Magnificus, means that you're actually saying goodbye to your scientific career. So there you are. This is it. Sorry, Anita. Academic leadership, someone has to do it, but not me. There's also this assumption that a university is best served by a Rector Magnificus coming from within its own ranks, from that same university. Whoever thought of that? I don't know. And department chairs must be professors. And someone who's very good at doing research, who builds up a research group, must also lead that group as a manager. As a scientist, you are often put in charge of a team without getting a significant amount of training or guidance, if any, and sometimes without you even being very happy with it. I fear that everyone here working in academia knows someone who is in a managerial position or a leadership position who's not fully capable of managing. And you can't always blame the person. That lies with the academic community. For example, with its HR policy, which is not yet as developed within academia as it is in other sectors. And I don't say that to accuse anyone, because I know how hard many people work to keep all the balls in the air, both in our HR department and in the many, many departments throughout the university. However, when I say that the system could use an update, and I'm not referring to our computer systems, but rather to the system that we're all part of, everyone here today, and the many colleagues and students that we work with, but are not here with us today. And that is therefore very good news, because we can all change that system together, because we are the system. Now, with this in mind, I invested a great deal of time and energy in the past year in the project which is called Room for Everyone's Talent, towards a new balance in recognizing and rewarding academics. I'll admit, it's not the punchiest punchline, but you immediately understand the direction that this is heading. And that's not just what I want, but what also the other 13 Dutch universities want, including Leiden. He's sitting here, I have to do it. And not only the Association of Universities in the Netherlands, the VSNU, supports this, but also the European University Association is backing this, as do the organizations that provide us with research grants, such as NWO and Zonneweg. Now, last November, we presented our position paper to the Minister of Education, Culture and Science, who also expressed her support for this new direction, in which I wholeheartedly believe. That day, we had a symposium in Rotterdam with breakout sessions, one of which was about leadership in academia. A parallel there was drawn with the football world, in which there is also the assumption that those who excel in their profession are automatically a good leader, as if only the mastery of one's very specific area of expertise is important. And a distinction was made between management, which is primarily about checking and accounting for processes, which we academics love, isn't it, Sally? We love checking those processes, and leadership, where inspiration and vision are crucial. And of course, within a university, we just expect everyone to magically possess all of these. Now, one of the conclusions of this session was that young academics should be encouraged a lot more and supported in their development towards becoming a leader. And also that the HR policy of universities urgently needs to be professionalized so that it becomes easier to support and train good leaders, as well as, I have to say it, to deselect non-functioning leaders. Because non-functioning leaders, we can be very brief about this, make things difficult for the colleagues around them, and ultimately for the university as a whole. And we do this with respect, because you're not a loser if you're not talented in leadership, but you excel in many of the other domains that we have to work on within the university. Now, at the same time, of course, also our non-scientific staff, which we call support staff, needs good leaders. Now, a colleague from the UK who was there that day in Rotterdam from the London School of Economics and Political Science explained how that distinction between academic staff and support staff was no longer made there. That makes you think, why are we still doing that, especially at a young, dynamic university like ours? Shouldn't we also be able to change this, assuming that all staff works for the same purpose? And if you now think, or say later when you are having a drink at the reception, this all sounds reasonable and great in theory, Rianne, but how are you going to implement all that in practice? then on the one hand you are right, because I realize that the university's administration must set the course and above all set good examples. So we are indeed going to support young academics who want to take on a managerial role to prepare themselves, and we will assist them with the challenges that they face. We will encourage our mature staff to do the same and to reflect upon their own leadership style. We will ensure, with the consortium that I mentioned earlier, of the 14 universities and the funding organizations, that academics can also build a career without excelling in research only. We will diversify career paths, including ways to evaluate teamwork and find a better balance between quantitative and qualitative measurements of assessment. But, and I say that with a capital B, on the other hand, I also want the ball to bounce back to you, sitting here today, because I, and we as the administration, or we and our HR department, cannot do this alone. What we need is a culture in which quality is recognized in all the domains in which we work, that is teaching, research, impact, leadership, and for those working in medical hospitals, also patient care. But also a culture in which the lack of quality is freely discussed and dealt with. Now, within the University of Maastricht, our 16th, chaired by myself, will lead the necessary change process, and we will present our approach to the Maastricht community in a few days. This will include dialogue about all the proposed changes in the position paper, but also concrete steps. One will be, for sure, career paths for those who stand out in innovation of teaching in all 6 faculties. I will now tell you what my proposal was for the punchline of the DS. Academic leadership, does it exist at all? Okay, I now also see that it's maybe a bit of a punch in the face, and it doesn't do justice, and I also want to say that from here, to the many, many colleagues who actually possess it naturally, who have developed it. But I hope you understand that I really, in my position, have the privilege, I hope, to shake the tree. That's why I wanted to become rector in the first place. So let's discuss this topic all together, all of us. Let's change the system together. Because in the end, we are the system. And the system we currently work in definitely deserves an update. I thank you very much for listening. This means that I will now descend this beautiful place, and I will go back down, and I will continue with the rest of the ceremony. Many thanks for listening.